So brave new media people, welcome. And this is, as you can see, panel called Media in Barbieland. My name is Iva, and I'm a journalist and a podcast founder. And today, together with my fellow journalists, feminists, and comrades, we are going to talk about the position of women in the media. Before we start the official part of conversation, I would like to ask you, did you watch the Barbie movie? You can raise your hands if you... Okay, we can continue this discussion, okay. I don't know if you remember this scene when Barbie enters the real world and she sees some billboard with sexist ad with half-naked women on it. And she said, oh my God, the Supreme Court, they are so amazing. Do you remember this scene, yeah? I think this scene can be a really good analogy of the things we are going to discuss today. And today we are going to discuss the representation of women in media, the position of women's body and women's appearance in the media, and about stereotypes and how much they are really toxic and how they affect our lives. I think it's really complex moment, an important moment to discuss these topics, because at the same time we are witnessing one really historical moment where women feel empowered to talk about some topics, and some topics we see for the first time in the media today. But on the other hand, we are witnessing one really strong anti-gender movement and anti-gender policies in media, in social networks, in life. So I think it's really important to address these issues and to show how this patriarchy-shaped lenses affects our lives and our freedoms. Luckily for us, today with me are some of the persons which fight discriminations on the daily level. And one of them is definitely Nina Pavićević. Nina, welcome. It seems like we have to fight some fights that we thought are over. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that today, if you want to tell an ordinary women's story, you must be brave. Mm-hmm. And thank you for being brave in creating your content.
Thank you for being brave.
Yeah. We will have a lot of this thank you in this conversation today. Well, my first question is, what are some main tools in advocating for women's rights in your content? Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this anti-gender movement. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the biggest threat for women at this moment?
Yeah. Well, as you said, the anti-gender movement is rising, and when that happens, it seems that the fight we thought were like that we dealt with them and that are now okay, that we fought for our rights, we actually make like many steps behind, because for women it's so hard to make steps ahead, and when something like that happens, like we easily fall back, because still the oppression in the society and it's the power imbalance and everything that holds these systems up, and it's really easy to fall back. So I think that with every right, for example, we see it now in Poland or in USA with abortion rights, for example, like that's the most recent cases that are like now relevant and that are really scary, because those are fights that we thought were over. Mm-hmm. For me, when we talk about gender equality, social media is a really important tool. Of course, I completely advocate for offline activism as well, but for me, I really like to use social media. One of the reasons is because I can creatively express everything I think and everything I want to educate myself on and other people on, but also because it's easy to connect with people that are not here at the moment. So wherever we are, we can connect. And I like to do that with Balkan region, because I think that feminists in ex-Yugoslavia have like really long history and really amazing history that we don't know much about. So I like to emphasize that as well.
Yeah, and thank you for your dedicated approach. You know, you are so precise with informations, with You often call some experts when you create your content. So I think this precise and detailed approach is very important for social media content.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes important to call experts because we need to debunk so many myths that we thought like we have to unlearn so many things, and that's the most important thing because it's actually really hard to unlearn things. It's easy to learn in some way, but to unlearn things, that's the process. So that's why it's important to call experts as well so they can share their opinion.
Lana Nikolić is here with us today, a journalist, activist, blogger. And Lana, I was thinking about your whole career path. You know, you have created content in so many formats. You were a radio host, you wrote articles, and today you are very active on social media. So I was thinking, when we talk about this topic, we usually address these wrong narratives, wrong scenes, wrong patterns that we use in the media. But you have a big experience, and I would like to hear from you. What do you think, what kind of stories do we need more in our media?
Thank you. Well, first of all, as you mentioned, Tampon Zona, I think that's a good example of the chance for all of us to have the place to share voices, to share the experience we have. What we miss, from my experience, not just the experience as a journalist or radio host, but a personal experience, we actually need more diversity in the media, and we need more place for people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. When I say it, it looks like something you see in your project, you know, like a generic sentence. But it's not just a sentence, it's a question of someone's life. If someone, you know, people who was on the radio Belgrade 202, where I worked for like 8 years, if I never met a person who believed that I have the potential, that I have voice as a radio journalist, when nobody trained that voice, when I made mistakes, when I had wrong accent, I would never sit here with you. Somebody had to believe in me. Somebody had to believe that I have it within myself, that I have something to share, and they gave me the chance. So I got my radio show, and I worked on it for a few years. And I used that space to talk about important subjects, such as young people who are going through the processes of curing some difficult illness, or young people from, as I said, disadvantaged backgrounds, or young artists, or young women with disability, because I wanted for them to have something I never had, or something I got when I was older, something I missed when I was younger. So what we need in the media, except the place for someone who is different, we also need more journalists who have some kind of differences, so we can hear their stories, because all of us, we have different experiences. That's also a generic sentence, but it's a real truth, and we know that it's true. So I want not just more journalists who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, I also want more women who have some kind of diversity, who can be in the leading positions. Such as, I would like to see someone who is the main editor and who has diverse background. I would love to see the future where we can set an example for girls that if I made it, if you made it, if Nina made it, that they can make it. No matter the circumstances, no matter the difficulties, the potential, that we see the potential in them, even if they don't see that in that moment.
Yeah, and I will repeat one sentence I heard yesterday on LGBT panel. Jonas from Amsterdam said it. He said that men don't have one story, women don't have one story, LGBT community don't have one story. So diversity is a must.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And I would like also just one more sentence about, you know, when I say about diversity, you will probably put that label right away on me. You know, this is diversity, so that's it. Yeah. But I have so many more stories, and everyone who is from disadvantaged background, they have so many identities. So when we talk about disability or diversity or any kind of circumstances that make our life more difficult or more challenging, it's just one perspective. It's very important to have in mind that a human being is so much more than one label we are so often putting on the whole of their potentials.
Yeah, Labels are bad generally, yeah. So Shamim Nakiryowa, if I pronounce it well, is here with us today. Shamim, welcome. Can you hear us?
Thank you, Iva. Yes, I can hear you.
Shamim is part of Deutsche Welle Akademie East Africa, and she's a part of a project called Women of Web. This video that you saw is part of this project. So this video shows us literally what we already know, and that is that violence in online spaces and violence in media isn't perceived as violence at all. We don't see it as a violence. So maybe for the beginning you can present us your project, Women of Web, and share us your mission.
Yeah. Thank you, Iva, and thank you, everyone. Of course, thank you, BNMF, for this great platform. I mean, like you heard from Sylvia, violence against women and girls previously occurred mostly online, but also as seen from most reports and a recent UN report described cyberspace as the new frontline of violence against women. And to promote greater digital participation, security and support for women, DW Academy initiated the Women at Web project, which brings together a network of organizations in East Africa, that is from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda, to collectively enhance women's rights and visibility online. And of course, it also shows women encounter in digital spaces and works towards fostering a safer and more inclusive environment. The network also focuses on 3 approaches and priority on this project. That is trainings on different areas and themes like digital rights, digital security, digital storytelling, digital resilience. For example, in Uganda, our partners were able to conduct a training, not just for the affected women, but also for other stakeholders, like the police, to begin with. And the aim was to educate and raise awareness that this form of violence is also to be taken seriously and falls within the responsibility of the police to address and support victims when they report these cases, unlike previously where the victims were the ones that were affected even more when they report these cases, even before they report, police summons them instead of focusing on the perpetrators. So as a result of this training, the Ministry of Gender and the police decided that victims can be included in the protection program of the Ugandan government. And this is one of the successes. And of course, in addition to trainings, the project also engages in advocacy efforts and also numerous research studies to understand the problem, narrow it down, but also identify relevant actors and promote solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think these alliances and these networks are really crucial in mapping and addressing the problem, and trainings also. We have a similar organization here called Female Journalists Against Violence. So I think they are really the most important station currently when we talk about gender-based violence and reporting about it. So our next speaker, we have Brankica Janković, Serbian Commissioner for Protection of Equality with us. Brankica, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me, Iva. But I immediately noticed some unequal treatment. You didn't prepare a video for me, okay? This is because I'm a public authority. I'm a special. Just joke, of course.
We mentioned reporting about gender-based violence, and I think the most burning and the most important problem here in Serbia now is reporting on gender-based violence. We have 27 femicides since the beginning of the year, and reporting is still catastrophic. And it's crucial to address these topics, but when we talk about these issues, you told me that the sexism is something that we must address and that we must point out, that it's really harmful, it's really toxic, and we see it as something light, some part of the joke or something like that. But if you ask me, it all starts with sexism. All the things that we are witnessing now is the product of this amount of sexism everywhere. So what do you think, how much sexism in the media is bad for us?
Fully agree with you, Iva, but above all, I want to emphasize that the common optimistic approach to the life just come back to me when I see Nina and Lana and you, Iva, and amazing young women and men who are ready to fight against repatriarchalizations and too much anti-gender approach in our societies, which is really terrible, but you just gave me a new energy. Talking about women in the media, they are still very objectified, regardless of their position. You can be successful journalist, athletes, politicians, actresses, activists, singers, whatever, but attitude remains the same. Curious eyes of public want to see how fit they are, how you balance private and work life, and who is your partner. Want to see how women look in swimsuit or naked, etc. And but that is a better option, because sometimes it happened that unfortunately there are many women whose 15 minutes of fame comes through their naked photo or crime in media in recent time too often. And sexism, what has really frustrated me, but sexism still sells, although we witness some improvements. Of course, we can notice a huge progress today, but definitely there are too many examples of advertising and media presentation of women in such a negative way. Talking about gender-based violence, fully agree that is the main challenges, better to say, problem in our society. Tabloid and sensational approach are inadmissible when reporting to gender-based violence. Sometimes I think that journalists, better to say, editors are not aware what can happen after inadmissible report of gender-based violence, because they contribute not only to relativization, but also to the direct promotion of crime. And unfortunately, they can much more greater impact than we want, and it can be crucial for decision for victims of violence go to report to decision or not go and continue to be in a circle of violence. And I always appeal to journalists and editors not to write for clicks, shares, profits. They will survive without that. They should be aware that it is a matter of life and death of someone's wife, mother, sister, etc. And can't remember who said that we need much more, Lana, I think, more journalists aware of that. But I think it's better to say we need much more editors today. We have really good, I saw in our republic, Jovana Gligorijević, the best journalist and the member of
Shout out
women.
to Jovana, and thank you to
we are
Jovana.
proud that we are proud that we
Thank
have
you, Jovana.
journalists. Sorry if I don't see other journalists who are presented here, but we need editors who are aware what can happen with an appropriate report of gender-based violence, and also the, let's say, relatively new phenomenon of gender-based violence in digital sphere, or TFGBY today call. It's very widespread, and polls conducted in Serbia, I have some certain data, 78% of respondents do not feel safe on the internet, even though they spend more than 3 hours a day online. And we forgot sometimes that digital violence is a real threat. It's sometimes much more dangerous than let's say in real life, or how to say, offline.
Yeah.
And it's part of the problem is that people who find themselves in this situation do not know to whom to turn to. So we decided together with our partners from UNFPA to launch, a year ago, we launched campaign Body Right, Your Body is Your, in a digital world, in offline worlds, because we need much more knowledge about that, more information, and more capacity of public authorities how to fight them. We are late, I think, because so we decided to launch that campaign and support especially young women, but men, of course, boys and girls to report. They don't know who is competent authorities.
Yeah.
They should ask someone for help, but they...
Yeah, that's the crucial thing you said. We are very slow, because we are still thinking about, is the online violence?
Yeah.
And the thing that is happening today is that we have AI, we have deep fake videos.
Deep fake video and all others.
Yeah.
You're not ready.
So I think that it's really urgent to react
more than urgent, especially today. I think the situation became much more worse every day. And
Nina, when we talk about sexism, our favorite topic, recently you decided to film yourself for your content on TikTok and Instagram. So I was wondering, was it hard to make this decision? And what kind of comments do you read now, and what do they tell you about this society? Yeah.
Well, for me, it's really great to film myself, because that's the way to connect with people who follow me. And I noticed that we connect on a deeper level that way, so that's a good side. But on the other hand, I've been without my face online for so long, and I'm not used to it. So that's the other thing, because I had a reason for that, of course. I think it was safer in some way, because I'm completely aware that I'm a young woman from Montenegro that speaks on feminism, and that's not a popular topic or something that you can just go around and talk about, no one is going to pay attention. Most people do, because that's not really popular right now. And that's that's expected, because everything that goes against status quo is something that's not popular. But on the other hand, I didn't feel really safe for a long time to do that. Now that I do, I did notice a lot of hate comments, of course, because I also filmed on TikTok. I don't usually use TikTok that much, but when I do, there are hate comments. I noticed, and before I started filming with other women, that there is a lot of hate. And I noticed that people say, but those are just kids. And for me, that's even scarier, because hate is something that we learn. So they learned that somewhere. So for me, that's actually scary. It's not, oh, they're just kids. They learned that. And I know that algorithm can do amazing tricks. for them, and that the things they follow can be really problematic. So I think that's something that we should pay attention. I don't think that we should look at that lightly because they're kids and think that they are forming themselves that way. So it says a lot.
I think it's the most dangerous thing right now that these anti-gender movements, they are approaching children and young generations, and they have some, contemporary formats. They have these influencers that talk about this culture and about these misogynistic policies and stuff. And they gather a lot of people, we mentioned Andrew Tate in this intro video, but we have many Andrew Tates here and in the region, around the world. And you can very easily see that the main followers are, this army of followers are young men.
Yeah, that's really scary. And actually, that you mentioned that we also have a lot of Andrew Tates, and I think that there are a lot more that we don't even know about, because we know about the most popular ones, but we don't really follow that stuff, so we don't know. So that's really scary, and it's really scary how quickly they can gather this army of young men to follow them without any critical thinking, or without realizing how harmful it is for people around them. And it happens to me sometimes that girls write me and say to me that, oh, my boyfriend is following Andrew Tate, what can I do? I'm like, I don't know, I don't know how can I help you, because I'm so sad that is happening. I'm so sad that's prevalent now, but it's also so scary that people also overlook this problem as something that just, or he just following Andrew Tate, that doesn't mean anything. It does mean something.
Yeah, and the platforms itself, they gave them space, they don't have any kind of responsibility, because
but I also notice
it means money for them.
Of course. But I also notice when they do ban them, they can cause contra effect actually. So I'm not sure what I think about that yet, because that's when people say, oh, see, he's saying the right things. That's why they did this. That's why Instagram or Twitter who did it. So yeah, that's also can cause contra effect. But yeah.
Yeah, Lana, what are your experiences with comments and stuff? It seems like I talked to Nina earlier, and we talked about when you talk to some guy, influencer or a YouTuber, and we asked them what is the hate speech for them, And there are some sentences that are bad, but all of the bad comments for women are based on their look, appearance, and stuff.
Yeah, or death threats or rape threats and so on.
Yeah, that's absolutely, I don't have that bad experiences online, I have to say that, but maybe I'm just used to, as probably every woman around the world, so we can't actually say what's bad, because, you always think, oh, there is something worse. So this is not even a bad thing, I can deal with it. And that's the greatest problem, because it's very hard actually to perceive something as a problem, because you always say to yourself, oh, that's up to me, or I have to deal with it, or I'm not strong enough to deal with it. So whatever I do, I'm the one to blame. The person who wrote it, they just expressed their opinion. It's not an opinion, it's an insult. And also, it can put me in indirect jeopardy, depending on the comment. What I noticed is that they're really focused on the look. So since I'm using crutches, it's not always visible, but they see my lazy eye, and they comment on my lazy eye, and they're like, why don't you operate it? And I'm like, well, it's not your business to deal with it. It's my body. I can decide about it. And then I find myself justifying myself to that person. And then the third step is why I'm doing this, because we are learned to do that. Because we're learned to justify ourselves all the time. And I think when we talk about general, the women in general, but also especially women who have some kind of differences or who belong to diverse groups who are obviously different, they face much more possible hatred online or much more insults, or it doesn't have to be an insult. It can only be a sentence that will stick with you all day, If I'm wrong, what if I'm wrong and I don't even know that? So what I think is important, as I learn to look at it, it's not my job to educate them. It's my job to create content and hope that content will inspire young women, whether they have some kind of differences or not, whatever is their, whatever is their strength, And I think it's very important if we cannot respond to that comments, if we delete them, or if we want to, put ourselves away from that it's not a fragility, it's not a bad thing. Being fragile, it's a good thing. It's the ability to feel, it's the ability to be aware of the world, it's the ability to understand what's your position in it. So when we are talking about fragility, I would encourage every young woman to be more fragile without any fear. It doesn't mean it's opposite to strength. It's a part of our strength, the ability to feel, the ability to react. So when we talk about comments, the general advice is think before you write. Because from the other side, there is someone who has, a feeling, a heart, and you're invading someone's space. We should think about it as a space. A friend of mine told me, it's your house, it's your garden, so somebody is coming in without even knocking. And I would like to use this conversation or any other kinds of things we are doing together as an empowering tool for every young woman to be aware of their strength and their fragility as something that is incredibly powerful and incredibly important.
Yeah, thank you for this. I'm also an activist for culture of fragility. We called it that way, yeah?
Yeah, we made
And
it
resilience of shame, because we human beings created culture of, let's say, culture of narcissism, that we are the best, superwoman, superman. We have to create resilience of shame and be fragile, of course, and learn from our mistakes. We sometimes forgot that it's very useful.
The clock is ticking, so I will have one last question for all of you. Maybe Shamim, to start with you. What do you think are the key steps to fight stereotypes in the media?
Yeah. Thank you, Eva. That is a very, very actually a relatable subject for us because in the course of implementing the Women at Web project, it was also, it became clear that, the perception of OVO is not only shaped by online spaces, and by OVO I mean online violence against women or online gender-based violence. But traditional media, of course, continued to play a very important role in setting the agenda, but also influencing public discourse. And therefore, we commissioned a study to examine how media covers online gender-based violence. And, one of the key findings was, the use of, stereotypes and sexualizing the victims, but also the use of attention-grabbing headlines while reporting on cases or instances of online gender-based violence. And for instance, one of the survivors, who also happens to be a former member of parliament, was sharing her story with us. And she stated that, she had to live with this for 8 months. And she was brave enough, a woman in her position. She took the stand and pursued this case. But of course, in one of the sessions, I will just share an example. In one of the court sessions, while she was sharing her experience, she broke down and teared up and cried. And the headline in one of the most popular newspaper in Uganda stated that a woman member of parliament cries in court because of love, which was so appalling. This is how the media is covering such cases, and it is not unique to any of the 4 countries in East Africa. It cuts across, it's more or less the same experiences that women and victims of online gender-based violence are going through. And so therefore, one of our approaches, which also comes as a recommendation from this study, was building the capacity of media practitioners, because most of them did not even understand, just like other stakeholders, they did not understand the severity or the impact that online gender-based violence has. on people, on women. Sylvia was sharing her story, and every time she does, I tear up. But this is 4 years ago. She went through this 4 years ago, and she is still suffering the impact of this. So, of course, these recommendations underpin a series of activities that DW Academy has launched, targeting traditional media, to enhance their reporting, ethical reporting, when it comes to issues of online gender-based violence, but also to sensitively write about these topics. What is the language that, to begin with, should be used?
Yeah.
Because also framing and language was one of the most prevalent practice that affected women, for example, would be referred to as, the focus would be on the pictures or the images, the intimate images, or did you see how curvy she is? Or they would be referred to as sexy, which diverts, the attention and the seriousness of the case. So yes, to answer your question, building capacities. In this instance, when it comes to media coverage, it's building the capacity of media practitioners.
Thank you, Shamim. Nina, do you have some short takeaways for the end?
I'm not sure I have short takeaway, but I wanted to say before that when we talked about sexism in media, you mentioned something that reminded me of one research that says that we look at women as body parts and we look at men as whole, and that really showed me how much sexism in media affects all of us. And I think that sometimes those kind of statistics really bring us to the point that we have to realize how big the problem is. So that's the only thing I wanted to add before.
Thank you. Lana?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to diversity. So I would like to see more diverse media landscape and more women coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, as I think they have incredible experience and the incredible contributions, and they need space for it. So this is a direct call to all of the media to actually find the capacity within the structure to look out for the voices that are fresh, new, that are offering some different perspectives. I would really love to see the future which consists of much more women coming from diverse backgrounds, no matter what diverse backgrounds are.
Yeah, I will add only that here in Serbia we are witnessing some kind of feminization of journalist profession. We have a lot of women journalists. But I would like to see some kind of Barbieland here when we talk about it, to see women on position of editors, of decision makers, of position of power. And I'm always thinking about how will world look like if women were the one that creates the mainstream narratives, Brankica?
Yeah,
something
fully
to
agree
conclude,
with you. It's difficult to add something more important. Fully agree with you, Iva. We need, it's good. It is good that we have so many extraordinary women in journalism who covered not only traditionally women field of interest, like fashion, beauty, family, etc., but who covered politics, economy, sports, etc., because I think that we need much more female perspective in that area, economy, politics, especially security. What happened today in a world created by too much men. I sometimes want to say that too much testosterone in our world. We should
great thing to end
we should do something to chase. Sorry, I know. Klaus is here. No other young boys, but we need
Klaus
we need
fellow
much
comrade,
more.
yeah.
We need more balance in our world. We don't. It's very wrong if we go to make a trend of feminization of some professions. For example, female in journalism and social care area, health care, education, etc.
Yeah.
We need more balance, and we need much more, especially young men and boys who interested of, let's say, traditionally women fields. We need definitely more balance in our life, both female and male perspective, in order to survive, to save our civilization, because there's definitely something wrong with our civilization today. Yes, and maybe to say for you, just 2 days ago, we awarded for the 9th time a journalist who is a good promoter of more gender equality, tolerance, and we did that together with our partners from the OSCE mission in Serbia. I think they're also partner of this festival, and I think it's important to promote equality. But what does it really mean, gender equality? It is for men and women, and for girls and boys, not only for women, and much more
we will open
tolerance.
the space for questions now, so raise a hand. I'm not seeing you because of the light, but yeah.
Hi. Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Barbie.
I'll make this very quick. So just a yes-no question for all of you. As women who are sort of in media, in a public space, if I was a 15-year-old girl and I was thinking of starting like a profile online, talking about anything, but I would be public online, would you support me in doing that? Yes or no?
Oh my God, such a tough question.
Yeah, because I'm seeing now this one young girl, we don't have many Balkan feminists, and I'm seeing now this one young girl that talks about this stuff, and whenever she comes up on my For You page, I'm like, but you're so young. And I'm like happy that she knows that stuff, but it's so hard because it's a society that doesn't support really that, and I don't know what would I ask her. Probably, maybe no, I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I will go with yes, because, you know...
Okay, then I'll go with yes.
He will probably empower some other girls, and
yeah,
I think
will,
that, yeah.
But it's so young, yeah.
I'll probably say yes, but I would offer my support because the fact is that, you know, young girls are truly vulnerable online. So I would give my best to create some kind of space for her to feel, to have some basic ground to start from, and to offer the sources for her to rely on. So it's yes, but with support.
She was really clear, and she emphasized, I really want to hear only yes or no. Yes. And I will support you. We need
It's a yes
15
for me
years
too, with support.
perspective, definitely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we have some more questions?
Jovan.
Ladies and gents, Jovana Gligorijević.
Well, I really have a specific question actually for Shamim. You have mentioned that you have worked with police in terms of education and training. So I wanted to hear just short impressions. What was the experience? Because we do something similar in Western Balkans region at the moment. And on the surface, they are sort of educated about the circle of violence. They pretend to understand, but they do not understand the nature of trauma, especially sexual trauma. And that's the issue that we deal at the moment to explain them how to communicate these cases and how to communicate with survivors. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about your experience, but we are short on time, so just in short, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, I completely understand where you're coming from. It wasn't also easy at the beginning, but we had the involvement of the Ministry of Gender. In Uganda, so constantly a link, especially victims, to these officers. So first, they were trained to understand, you know, the severity, but also the seriousness of the topic. Because, like I mentioned initially, when, for example, intimate images of a particular person were released, so they would be holding the victim accountable, you know, why did you have such pictures and so on and so forth. So we had to also educate them. that this is a crime, actually not for the victim, because they are already suffering or going through a lot, but to focus on the perpetrators. Also, taking them through trainings on actually how to investigate such crimes, but also regular checkups and also engaging them. When we have these women, or when we have trainings for these women, we invite them so that they get to actually understand the impact this has on these women, and therefore also put emphasis and effort on investigating such cases and bringing the perpetrators to account.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have more questions. Ilya?
Yes, I have a question. Because of the Barbie movie, do you think that feminism is portrayed good enough in the Barbie movie?
Are you asking everyone or?
Yes.
Or Barbie?
I didn't understand. I didn't understand well his question.
Is Barbie a feminist movie?
Is Barbie a feminist movie? Sorry, didn't hear well.
Nina, you're...
Do you want long or short answer? Probably short because we don't have much time.
Yeah, short.
I think Barbie is a good feminist movie for people and for really young girls, or maybe actually women in general, who don't really know much about feminism. But Barbie doesn't really represent all feminist movements, and that's not really possible for a Hollywood movie that has a great budget and everything. It will, of course, not represent really the needs of women. So yeah, that's a short answer. So yes and no. But it's a great starter for everyone. And what someone wrote to me in DMs, that's a great question for the first date. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question as well, although I don't want to extend the discussion, but I will pick up on what Lana said. Obviously, other guests are welcome to contribute as well. Since my brain is also so programmed in a way to believe that we need editors which, you know, will contribute to visibility and diversity. Do you have a feeling that we are on the right track, actually? Because I have a feeling that we are making mistakes there, because quite often we do this for the sake of visibility. So we do see a diverse person in a certain position, but it turns out into activistic, or, you know, like there's an ownership by this person and not necessarily by the qualifications, which I think it's at least equally important as visibility. So what's your experience and take on this so far when you look around here in the Western Balkans?
Well, I'll just try to keep it as short as possible, but thank you for the question. I will just say that probably, partially, we are on the right track, but I think we can do much better than this. This is the reason I'm here today, so I think we can do much better, and that all of us in this room and everywhere, we can actually give our contribution to that better. It's not something someone else will do, it's something we do together. Although we are not editors at this moment maybe, but we have some other roles. So let's just focus on what we can do so we can have more diversity landscape, more diverse landscape. Thank you.
But I must add, you're an editor of your profile, which is very valuable to people.
Yeah, okay, that's the one I
media
forgot
gave
about.
Us this media islands, you know.
Yeah, I don't see it as an editorial position. I see it as a responsibility, which is, you know, as a public figure. But yeah, I would like to emphasize that the power we have as a community for the end of conversation. Yeah. We really have much more strength than we think, and we have much more fragility than we think. It's a real treasure for all of us.
Yeah, thank you. No more questions? Okay, we can continue this discussion at lunch. Thank you for your attention, and thank you all for doing what you do, and just keep up the good work. That's for the end, yeah.
Thank you.